All right, let's talk about one of the biggest hurdles on the ACT science section, those data tables. But don't worry, by the end of this, you're going to have a simple, repeatable strategy to look at these things with total confidence and, most importantly, speed. Let's dive in.
You know that feeling, right? You flip the page, see this giant grid of numbers, and you can practically hear the clock ticking louder. It is so easy to feel overwhelmed. But what if I told you there's a systematic approach that just cuts through all that noise every single time? Well, there is, and we're going to break it down right now.
So, before we get to the actual strategy, we got to make sure we're all speaking the same language. Let's do a quick run-through of the 3 basic building blocks you'll find in every single one of these tables. Getting this down is the foundation for everything else. What's really great about this is how it just boils the whole challenge down into 3 core ideas. See, this isn't about knowing a bunch of science facts, it's about understanding the table, knowing how to find the individual data points, and then spotting the overall trend. If you can nail these 3 things, you are way more than halfway there.
Okay, first up, the table itself. Think of it like a grid that organizes the results of some experiment. The most important parts? The labels on the columns and rows. Seriously, always take a half second to read those before you even look at the numbers. They tell you exactly what was measured and what was changed.
Next, we've got the data point. You know, every single number sitting inside that grid is a data point. It's just one specific measurement. Your job on the ACT isn't to understand the complicated science behind it. It's just to find the right number that the question is asking for. That is it.
And finally, the trend. This is the big picture. You're just looking for a relationship. As one thing changes, what happens to the other thing? Does it go up? Does it go down? Does it stay the same? Spotting this pattern is often the fastest way to get to the answer.
Okay, so with those basics covered, let's build our game plan. This is a 4-step checklist that you can use to attack any data table question. Get these steps in your head, and you'll never feel lost looking at one of these again.
And here it is, step 1, and this is absolutely crucial. Always read the question before you look at the table. This is huge. It saves you from getting lost in a sea of numbers you don't even need. Then, step 2, use that question like a treasure map to locate the specific data you're looking for. Step 3, quickly identify the trend between those points. And finally, step 4, do whatever simple comparison or calculation it asks for. That's the whole shebang. Now, those 4 steps, they're going to get you the right answer almost every time. But on a time test like the ACT, speed is the name of the game. So let's go over a few pro tips that can be your secret weapon for shaving off precious seconds. Let's run through these. First, don't ever assume the questions go in order with the table. The answer to question 1 could be at the very bottom. Second, if you see the phrase, according to the data, that's a massive hint. It means ignore any science you might know from class. The answer is 100% in that table. Third, physically circle or underline words like greatest, least, or increase. It helps focus your brain on exactly what to look for. And last, and this is maybe the biggest tip of all, remember the ACT science section is really a reading test that just happens to use charts and graphs.
Okay, enough talk. Theory is great, but seeing it in action is way better.
Let's put our 4-step game plan to the test with a sample problem that looks exactly like something you'd find on the real deal. All right, here we go, a classic example. We've got a simple table, temperature changing over time, and a question. Now resist that urge to just stare at the numbers. Let's trust the process and start with step 1.
Step 1, read the question. So, what's it asking for? The total temperature change. Okay, so we're looking for a difference. And what's the time frame? From 0 to 10 minutes. Perfect. Our mission is clear.
Now for step 2, let's locate the data. We go to the time column, find 0 minutes, slide our finger over, and boom, 20 degrees. We do the exact same thing for 10 minutes, and there it is, 30 degrees. We've got our 2 pieces of the puzzle.
Step 3 is just a super quick mental check. What's the trend here? Well, as time goes up from 0 to 10, the temperature goes up from 20 to 30. It's a clear increase. This just confirms we're reading everything correctly and we haven't mixed anything up. And now, the final step, calculate. The question wants the total change, which is just a fancy way of saying find the difference. So we just set up some simple subtraction. 30 degrees minus 20 degrees. And there's our answer, 10 degrees Celsius. See how that worked? By following the steps, we completely ignored the data for 5 minutes because the question didn't ask about it. No guesswork, no confusion, just a direct path to the answer. Let's lock this in one last time, because this is the sequence you want to burn in your brain Read the question, find the data, identify the trend, and then compute the answer. That is your reliable path through any data table problem they throw at you.
So, the next time you're practicing and you come across one of these tables, what's your first move going to be? You already know the answer. You have the game plan. Now all that's left is to go put it to work.